Good evening, everyone. Thank you so very much for being here. My name is Geoff Osborne, and my family and I are here from Toronto, Canada. On behalf of my family, I want to say how deeply grateful we are to have been invited to be a part of this extraordinary evening. It's very hard to put into words the warmth and kindness we've felt here. The people of Zwolle have truly touched our hearts. Your enthusiasm, your generosity, and your unwavering commitment to remembrance have been nothing short of inspiring. And I have to say, with complete honesty, our new favorite football team is PEC Zwolle. Tonight, we gather in a spirit of hope and joy, but I would like to add one more word to that list. A word that sits at the core of how I feel in this moment, and that word is gratitude. I want to take a moment to thank some of the people who made this evening and this entire journey possible. Aniek, Daphne, Vincent from Collectio Overijssel, this is all because of you. This couldn't have happened without you. To Ruben and Ninka for organizing tonight, to Martin for his research, and to my friend, retired Master Corporal Nathan Keller, a Canadian Forces Afghanistan War veteran. I encourage you, if you get a chance, to please speak to Nathan after the event. Nathan is the head of the Canadian Research and Mapping Association. His work has allowed me to tell my grandfather's story today. Because tonight, we are here to remember something remarkable. 80 years ago, Canadian soldiers, including Léo Major and Willie Arsenault, liberated this beautiful city. You know their stories, so I would like to provide a different viewpoint of the liberation. My grandfather, Captain Earl Olmsted, was also there, commanding the artillery. After reports came in of the liberation, he raced forward and was photographed in the town square, communicating with the headquarters on his radio that morning. To walk these streets and see his image on posters, to feel his memory come alive here in Zwolle, it's very emotional for our family. I know how proud and thankful my grandfather would have been if he was here. The Canadians saw the suffering of the Dutch people, and they never forgot, and neither have you. Your dedication to keeping these stories alive, to making sure Canadian soldiers are never forgotten, is so important and appreciated. As we lose people from that time, we face an even greater responsibility. Not just to remember what they did, but to understand how they felt. Their fear, their courage, their love, and their hope. That is why we are here, and that is why we remember. I would like to share a few stories about what the war was like for my grandfather. He volunteered in 1939 when he was 25. He was an accountant from Ottawa. He was first sent to defend England and lived through the Blitz. He was very involved in planning the Canadian D-Day landings as a staff captain with the division headquarters. At 11:30 a.m. on June 6th, he jumped off a landing craft into frigid water near Courcelles-sur-Mer, only hours after the first soldiers landed. Over 350 Canadians were killed on D-Day alone, and their average age was just 20. That day, on June 6th, 1944, he wrote this letter to my grandmother, who was expecting their first child. My dear Marjorie, well, at least I can tell you some news. Landed on France this morning, scared, but everything's still under control. I couldn't sleep last night. I was wondering whether or not I was a father yet. We walked through the beach exits into the Normandy countryside. From a neighboring farmhouse, a small girl rushed up to me as I was leading our group and handed me a flower. All I could do was say merci, thank you, and carry on. My grandmother gave birth to their first child, a son, the next day on June 7th. In October 1944, my grandfather moved from the headquarters to command an artillery battery. His role was to coordinate the bombardments with his radio. He worked very closely with the Regiment de la Chaudière, Léo Major's infantry regiment. They had been partnered together since D-Day. Their division was nicknamed the Water Rats because of the flooded battles they fought in both Belgium and Holland. Here is a letter he wrote home from Leuth, Leuth, on February 11th, 1945. Hello, darling. Well, here I am marooned on a desert island. Well, practically the same thing. We were the artillery rep for the Regiment de la Chaudière, who attacked in assault boats. A very interesting time, but some of the close ones were too close. The Germans had flooded the area entirely. My vehicle, an amphibious vehicle, struck a telephone pole in the dark and sunk. We managed to reach a high spot of land with a large farm on it, and here we are stranded. We've been here for 36 hours. Boy, it's damn cold. I wonder how my young son is behaving. And this brings me to why I am here tonight. In 2021, we came across an old book called Zwolle, written in 1946. There was a photo of my grandfather with a radio in his hand amongst a cheering crowd. Under the photo, it says, "The radio car officially reports the liberation of Zwolle to the head commander of the Canadian troops." We had never heard of Zwolle. I contacted the Collectie Overijssel, who said they actually had the photo. Together, we were able to pinpoint where it was in the Grote Kerk. I hope I pronounced that right, Daphne. Just over there, 80 years ago tomorrow. As a battery captain, he would have been directly responsible for coordinating the firing plan of the guns of the 78th Field Battery aimed directly at Zwolle. Said otherwise, this evening, 80 years ago, he was standing at the guns waiting for the radio command to fire on Zwolle. According to the artillery records, they were preparing a major bombardment. The artillery regiment moved to position themselves for the attack on Zwolle. This place was expected to offer intense resistance, as it was a key town in the German escape route from the south. Early the next morning, the Regiment de la Chaudière sent 2 scouts into the town. On the way in, one scout was shot by a sniper, but the other, Léo Major, managed to enter Zwolle and contact civilians, returning with the report that the enemy were evacuating the town. In the words of the author of Zwolle, this is what he saw. The inner city experienced the first moments of liberation differently. First, rumors. Then, Canadian motorcyclists fly through the streets like a whirlwind. The resistance has already occupied Hotel Peters. Everything fits beautifully. Under that is the photo of my grandfather on the radio in the town square. It then reads, "It was high time, otherwise wouldn't the artillery bombardment of the city have started at 11. More and more people are crowding through the streets. Again and again, Canadian khakis appear. It is the most wonderful dream, whatever the future may bring. You are now drawing whole world events together in Zwolle's town square, where we first experienced freedom." What an incredible experience that must have been. I'd like to close this evening with a final letter home from another Canadian soldier at the end of the war, about what liberation felt like for him, and you can feel his emotion. "Darling, you couldn't possibly have any idea just what kind of a reception it has been and still is. The people simply go mad. Any town we went through, the people crowded the roads, and we had a most difficult time getting past them. They all want to touch your hand or even kiss you. They simply pelted us with flowers. My Jeep looked like a florist's shop. It does make all of the hardships worthwhile when you see the joy of these liberated people. Thank you for remembering."